years ago, this summer, Virginia experienced its deadliest storm in memory.
Nobody can prepare for something like this. Nobody.
Robert was lost, his wife, 3 daughters, and a granddaughter.
We saw debris that was unimaginable. It's just hard to imagine how much debris was in town.
Remembering Hurricane Camille on this edition of Living in Virginia.
Water is a powerful, powerful force.
We're familiar with floods down there. We weren't worried about it as a flood.
All of the reports that we had was that the storm was over with.
Mother Nature, a lot of times it inspires wonder among us. Every once in a while, it inspires fear, or even worse, complete panic. Hello, I'm Ned Barker, and welcome to Living in Virginia. Imagine what it would be like to be living in a rural community, quiet, peaceful, even a bit isolated, enjoying a warm summer evening, when all of a sudden a natural disaster threatened your home and your family. What would you do? How would you act? Well, 30 years ago this summer, that's exactly what happened for residents here in beautiful Nelson County.
The year was 1969. If you were young and had found a guy or girl to hold on to, it could have been shaping up as your best summer yet. Richard Nixon was in the Oval Office. Gasoline cost about 35 cents a gallon. And astronaut Neil Armstrong had just made history by stepping on the moon. In Nelson County, it was another warm Virginia summer. But it had been quite a bit wetter than normal.
Camille, a small but extremely dangerous storm, is now shifting west.
Boat owners and weathermen had their eyes on the Gulf of Mexico, where a hurricane of tremendous strength, Hurricane Camille, was bearing down on Gulfport, Mississippi.
Tides of 15 feet are expected.
Camille was packing winds of 200 miles per hour, a Category 5 hurricane, nature's strongest. But she seemed to pose little threat to Virginia.
It's now 6:30 p.m. Sunday.
One person who was paying attention was Warren Raines.
Yes.
A native of Nelson County, who now operates an electronics shop there. He and his family lived in Massey's Mill, in a home just a short distance from the Ty River.
I can remember a man's refrigerator. He found it like 3 or 4 blocks from his home. And I remember telling my mom, I said, gosh, can you imagine such a thing?
Camille pounded Mississippi, taking lives and obliterating homes. But as it moved north, its intensity waned. As it reached Tennessee and Kentucky, forecasters said its reign of destruction had ended. August 19th was an election day in Nelson County. Normally, the Raines family would have been at the beach, vacationing, but not this year. Warren's father had to work at the Massey's Mill precinct.
We had planned to go, and then they had this runoff election, and we had to be here for that.
Warren was 14 that year. Beside his parents, he had 2 sisters and 2 brothers living at home with him. His family enjoyed living close to the river.
The river was, kind of like our life. We used to play in the river, swimming, fishing.
The weather in Nelson County was hot and muggy that day.
I remember sitting on the front porch of my home and being a thunderstorm, but it was nothing any more than normal type of storms.
It may have seemed like a normal thunderstorm at first, but as the night wore on, it became anything but normal. Camille brought warm, moist air into Virginia, then collided with another mass of moisture. Then, in the black of night, she turned deadly as cold air descended from the north.
The telephone rang at, it was right around 2 o'clock, and one of the neighbors had called to tell us that Massey's Mill was flooding and that her car had already floated away. And
In the early morning hours of August 20th, Camille made the newsreels when she started taking lives.
And suddenly, flash floods are roaring down every hill and hollow.
And my neighbors who lived in the home behind me called us and asked if their children could go with us if we were going to leave. There were, of course, 11 of us in the station wagon, my family and then 4 of the neighbors' children. There were 7 of us here. We backed out and we all piled in here, got in, loaded up the car right here, and we didn't get but like 20 or 30 feet or so before the water killed the engine.
Waynesboro is under 8 feet of water.
We all got out and we thought we stood a chance of walking down the road and going to a home up on a hill perhaps.
Every ravine scarred by landslide, every valley a mass of mud.
It wasn't but just minutes after that it was I would say it at least anywhere from 8 to maybe 10 feet deep.
A dozen hamlets like Davis Creek, Tyro, Massey's Mill are almost wiped out.
One place I was holding and it was getting ready to give, and I saw my mother and 2 sisters and one of the neighbors, and I told them where I was breaking, and I didn't have nothing else to hold on to if they would catch me. And they told me, let go, we'll catch you. And when I got there, they were gone. It had just washed them away that quick.
How many are dead or missing here in Massey's Mill?
There are total count of 23 gone.
Finally wound up in a big weeping willow tree, one that I couldn't even hardly get my arms around. And the force of the water took that over. And I just hung on to a branch. The roots of the tree held to the earth itself, and I just held to a branch, the rest of the night. Whole homes, houses were floating by, and you were looking to make sure that you were out of the way of those, that you didn't get hit by a house coming by.
Warren's brother Carl also survived the night by clinging to a tree.
But he was in a tree right along here. I didn't know it until, of course, the next morning, until daylight, that he was there. And I wasn't really sure who he was until after we had hollered back and forth and talked to each other. The next morning, the water just receded. It's unbelievable how fast the water receded once the rain had stopped.
The storm only lasted for 6 hours or so, but in that time, more than 2 feet of rain came down. It was the kind of storm Virginia hadn't seen for perhaps 1,000 years. Ironically, parts of Nelson County didn't get more than a few inches of rain, and some residents woke up thinking it had just been another thunderstorm. A closer look revealed a world turned upside down.
I could smell this fresh earth, and I didn't know what it was at the time, but I could determine this very pungent odor. And what it was the fresh earth in the water from all the landslides.
There was so much water fell, it just turned that soil to mush.
And this was around where my mother-in-law's house stood.
Adelaide Huffman lives in Davis Creek, along with her husband Tommy. She was at home when Camille came through. In 1969, there were about 30 homes scattered along Davis Creek. Her husband's family occupied many of them.
There was very few homes left here at all.
Sometime around 3 that morning, she heard a loud roar.
I went to the door, and I didn't know what fresh earth smelled like. And I hollered from husband. I said, come here and tell me what I'm smelling. And he got to the door. He said, that's fresh earth. And about that time, it was like 1,000 jets in the air.
It was an avalanche of destruction, and it claimed the lives of more than 50 people in Davis Creek. 22 of the victims shared the same last name, Huffman.
James Huffman, he lost his whole entire family, except he was working that night. He didn't get lost. He lost a wife, 3 sons, 2 daughters-in-laws, and 2 grandchildren.
On the morning of August 20th, death was floating in the rivers in Nelson County or buried beneath piles of rocks, trees, and other debris. But it would take a while for the survivors to figure out just how many people were missing. Telephone service was dead. Electricity was cut off. Roads were destroyed. Dozens of bridges had been washed away. Hurricane Camille cut Nelson County off from the outside world. The county was even cut off from itself. In Massey's Mill, after Warren Raines and his brother had been rescued, they returned home to find the first floor demolished, but the second floor okay. They immediately went looking for their family, but all they saw was devastation.
It looked like it had been hit by a bomb, perhaps. I mean, it was looked like a war zone.
They checked their father's business, which was demolished. No one.
We went inside and hollered their names and so forth, hoping that perhaps they had gotten inside of there and, were there. That was our biggest hope. We had some people that came to us and told us that they found their family and that everybody was okay, that they had taken them to Lynchburg General Hospital in Lynchburg just to have them checked over and so forth. But for us not to worry, that everybody was okay, and then they would, they'd get back, we'd, get together later in the day. But obviously, we didn't buy that really. I mean, we wanted to. We were in hopes, but it was somebody that actually felt sorry for us and just wanted to comfort us by telling us something like that, which really wasn't true.
That night, they stayed with one of their father's customers and grappled with reality.
I knew that when we went to bed that night, that that if we hadn't seen or heard anything from anybody, that chances were that it was going to be bad news.
They would soon learn both of their parents had died. So had 3 of their siblings, and 2 of the 4 friends who were evacuating with them. As the water continued to go down, the picture of devastation in Nelson County grew clearer.
You couldn't move from one end of the county to the other.
The top priority was finding people who were missing. 2 days after the flood, the death toll stood at about 45. The number of missing, twice that number. Volunteers fanned out to comb the rivers and gather intelligence.
We would normally go into an area like the Rockfish River or a certain area of Davis Creek, and we would search it.
Bardell had just returned from an ROTC camp in Pennsylvania. Following Camille, he got involved in the search immediately.
First few days, I think that might have been fairly traumatic to a degree when you go out and pull these bodies, especially people that you knew out. Initially,
volunteers hoped to find many survivors. Before long, however, reality set in.
These folks are not living and could not be living in that situation.
More helicopters soon arrived in Nelson County. Lovingston, the county seat, became the center of relief activity. A command post was set up on Route 29, and the road was converted into a landing strip, nicknamed Lovingston International. In addition to the search for the missing, authorities sent the helicopters out to evacuate people. On the second day following the flood, a state trooper took Warren and Carl Raines to Amherst County to meet their relatives, including a sister who lived in Lynchburg. When they got there, the 2 teens broke the news to the group.
My great uncle was a World War II veteran. He was a war hero, highly decorated and so forth, and he was a tough guy. And he broke down and started crying, and when he did that, that got to me. That was one of the biggest things I can remember.
Another thing that shook him up was that had the Raines family simply stayed inside and taken refuge on the second floor, they all would have survived. Warren and Carl stayed in Lynchburg briefly, then returned to Massey's Mill for the cleanup.
We came back just to, try to tie up loose ends. We knew we couldn't come back to here and live right away, anything like that. We, with no family, but we just wanted to come back and, just try to salvage what we could.
They soon moved in with a family friend in Nelson County. Carl, in fact, stayed there for the year, but Warren enrolled at the Stanton Military Academy.
I decided I'd give that a shot, and I ended up there for a year.
As for Massey's Mill, it changed as well.
Massey's Mill became a ghost town.
Davis Creek was shattered as well.
I think it was harder on the children than it was on the adults because they were used to all getting together and all, and then all of a sudden nobody to get together. And it really seemed to me to affect the children worse than it did the adults.
What seemed to affect the adults most, however, was all the missing bodies and the absence of closure. In the weeks following the storm, the search for the bodies intensified.
People would come in groups to our command post just right over on the road, and we would decide. We had maps, and we tried to be systematic in our searching.
We would assemble search groups and assign certain areas and take one search body and put them on a helicopter, take them out, and they were to search from this area to this area down the stream.
We put local people into these helicopters so that when you said go to Woods Mill, they'd know where Woods Mill was, because it's not going to look right on the map, you know. You had to know.
We would drop a crew. We would determine how far that crew could get possibly that day on the banks of the river. And then we would put another crew and we would drop them. Then we would fly over them 3 or 4 times during the day. And they would signal if they had a body. And if they had a body, then we would go down, the helicopter would sit down where it could in the closest place.
And usually the bodies were brought in late in the day, you know, after when the crews were coming in. But the only way you could get out to these places was by helicopter.
The military did great jobs. They landed helicopters in places that were almost unreal, unbelievable.
Search for the bodies and stuff was tiring. It was hard. You're walking in mud and over sticks. We tried to walk downstreams because what trees were left were turned downstream, and you found out it was almost impossible to walk upstream. A lot of it was down on the hands and knees. We would get these things, we call them hammocks or whatever. There would be piles of trees, and you would go the first few days, you would go and just climb all over them, stick your head in every little cubby hole looking.
But Camille's flooding and debris made it impossible to find all the bodies. Donna Faye Wood, who was evacuating with the Raines family, was never found, nor was her 4-year-old brother, Gary. Half a dozen members of the Huffman family met a similar fate. In December, after 4 months of searching, the effort came to a close. The final death toll in Nelson County? It's impossible to say, but most agree the number was about 130. The figure for all of Virginia was only slightly higher. If finding the dead was the first thing on people's minds, providing help to those in need was second. Camille rendered so many Nelson County residents homeless that several trailer parks were set up to provide temporary housing.
We had people living in trailers here for several years after that.
The federal government stepped in. The state of Virginia did even more. To restore the county's economic vitality, millions of dollars had to be spent on road repair. Interstate 64 was under construction at the time, but following the storm, the project took a back seat to repairs in Nelson County.
And it was estimated at one time that 1/2 of all the equipment in the state of Virginia from VDOT was here in Nelson County.
Organizations like the Salvation Army arrived. So did the American Red Cross. So did numerous church groups. The group that gave the most help, however, was the Mennonite Disaster Service, led by a man from Augusta County, Jonas Kanagi.
He was Mr. Mennonite Disaster Service in this particular area.
Gene Ramsey is just one volunteer who Kanagi put to work. He's an amateur photographer who captured the county's recovery on film. But Ramsey made his biggest contribution by fixing water pumps and refrigeration units.
I stayed at it for more than a year. It was always a backlog of weeks of work.
They made the Grace Episcopal Church in Massey's Mill their headquarters.
If a house, if it had 3 inches of mud in it, they would shovel it out and sweep it out and wash it out and clean. If it needed physical repair, they built buildings. They would do whatever needed to be done.
The Mennonites never called attention to themselves. For a year, they quietly helped the victims of Camille get back on their feet.
I think in very real sense we finished the job. We stayed till we got the job done.
Full recovery took far more than a year, however. Within about a year of Camille, 2 of Nelson County's biggest employers shut down. The storm's impact was felt in local politics. Bill Whitehead, for example, lost his re-election bid for sheriff, and Cliff Wood stepped down as county supervisor rather than run for re-election. Meanwhile, residents who lost a parent or a child, a brother or a sister, or in some cases, an entire family, were left to sort through the emotional debris that wouldn't disappear.
I don't know. There's a reason. I guess there's a reason for everything. But, why me? Is, I guess that's, the big question.
As one resident put it, it was the worst of times and the best of times. Camille shattered families, but brought together complete strangers. Her 6 hours of rain gave Nelson County a lesson about the power of nature and the nature of man. She became a milepost for survivors, a marker in time.
For years, and maybe still now, they used the time of the flood as a point of time. Anything was before the flood, and it was after the flood.
It's been 30 years since Hurricane Camille struck Nelson County, but spend some time here, you'll still find signs of its destruction.
Like scarred lands high up in the mountains, tree limbs and debris along the rivers, and memorials to the victims.
It's really difficult to talk about the emotional part without really breaking down, even after 30 years.
Nature can really do some bad things.
Virginia's deadliest storm of the century, Hurricane Camille.
There's a story about the '69 flood in everybody that you were talked to.
I think that storm Camille probably claimed more lives, or it ranks right up in the top end of the death toll of any natural disaster in the country.
In the middle of that night, it came down so hard, so sudden. Wherever you were pretty much trapped there. You weren't going far.
I think it's made the people much more aware of and much more thankful of life.
Mother, of course, was a loving mother. She, spent a lot of time with us, whether it was to play cards or play Monopoly or whatever. My father, he was always there to fix whether it be a flat tire on a bicycle or a broken chain, well thought of in the community. And of course, my younger brother, I can see him as a happy little guy, himself, just getting all he could out of life. My younger sister, happy, whether it be playing with dolls or riding a tricycle. My older sister over there, she was, at the time, she was pretty serious about a boyfriend. August 20th, it's like a birthday. It's like a birthday, you know, sure, every time August 20th rolls around, every year, whenever their birthdays roll around, you know, think about them. August 20th is a date that'll remain branded in our minds until we die ourselves.